Hello, everyone. Um, Following the updates, I don't know how much you followed, and I don't know how much you've come. Trump attempted. There was this assassination attempt on Trump, and he escaped narrowly. And that's just the grace of God that saved Trump. And surrounding the incidences, what me actually don't really know why Trump should be assassinated, or somebody should be making an attempt of assassination on him. And right now, Joe Biden, the president of the United States of America, is giving a live and direct speech. So I just want to stream it live. If you're just watching, we watch together. Happy viewing.
Him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created a democracy that gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force. That's the American we must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
Listen, Sharon, thank you so much for jumping on to do this interview. I know that you were there on Saturday at the rally for former US President Donald Trump. You were there invited to pray. What do you remember?
Yes, it's the first time I'd been to a Trump rally and first time they'd asked me to lead it in prayer. Well, I remember a kind of a jubilant atmosphere, a large gathering of people. And as soon as, they called for the moment of prayer and I came up to the podium, people were very, very respectful all of a sudden. But my prayer was directed to God our Father, that he would give us his Holy Spirit, that we may perceive in the present crises of our time, in our world and in our nation, that we might perceive through this crisis the need to make right our relationships with one another, with our families, but ultimately our relationship with God.
And Father, what do you think of the fact that while you were there praying, that this gunman would have been in the vicinity getting ready to try and assassinate the president who was going to speak after you, the former president?
I hope that, before this young man died, some echo of my words in that prayer may have had a residual echo in his heart, that in his last breath, he may have said, Jesus, remember me, make this relationship with you beautiful again, and expired. I hope that was the case.
What do you remember about the moment when the gunshots fired out?
Yeah, Colm, that's my take on that is rather peculiar, because I had an obligation, and I knew that, a pastoral obligation. I knew that with the thousands of people there, I would not be able to get out on time. So I finished speaking with Mr. Trump, shook his hand, and the rest of the group that I was with proceeded to our seats, which were in the first row near the podium. And I said to the Secret Service, I apologize if this is going to cause you problems, but I think I'd better leave now to beat the crowd. And they said, sure. So they kind of showed me how to get out of the security perimeter. And I could still go over and talk to people on their side of the barrier in the crowd because they had seen me. And, they were waiting for Mr. Trump to get on the stage. And, I said to people, they thanked me for the prayer. And I said, yes, but the prayer has to continue. You have to pray. And I said that, there are people who want to shoot him. There are people who want to kill him. That was to a crowd of about 15, 20 people.
You
that
said
were
that
around
to them just beforehand.
Yes, I did. Yeah. And so I said, you have to pray for him.
And did you say that, Father, in general, or was there something at that moment that made you say that?
That's a good question, Colm. I said it in general, but when I said it, and it's the kind of thing with Secret Service around and with thousands of people, you don't want to be, it's just not prudent to broadcast that, but I don't know where it came from, but I was, I said that. And I kind of thought, and so I just finished my conversation and I kept walking, and some other people pulled me over and they said, look at the snipers on the roof there. I said, oh yeah. And by this point I was just kind of pulling away from the crowd. They were on their side of the barricade. And I heard like an indistinct pop. And then I noticed all these people coming towards me in the direction of where my car was. And I thought, oh, I'm never going to get out of here, And then someone says there were gunshots. So at that point, I thought, oh my. So I was, by that point, I'm in the car. I get in the car and my phone starts going off. And one of my parishioners who was in the crowd said they shot President Trump.
What do you think when you look back at what happened and the fact that you were there, that you said the prayer just beforehand, the fact that Donald Trump came within just a couple of centimeters of death?
Well, it's definitely, the grace of God. It's definitely a testament to the power of prayer in events. I'm not saying me personally, but the effect, the invisible, powerful effect of the angelic realm and the grace of God operating in the affairs of men. It is influenced by our willingness to bow our head and invoke his blessing. This is a testament again to the power and efficacy of prayer guiding the affairs of men.
And we have to remember as well, 2 people dead on Saturday at that rally.
All right. If you listen to the earlier part of it, just few minutes briefing by the American president Joe Biden. He, in his statement, what he's trying to make clear is that nobody would want to attempt to kill Trump. In other words, it's a makeup. But I come to ask, how do you think Trump will make up to be killed? Do you know, just less than a quarter, just, I don't know, just like this, the thing got his ear. Whatever, just had the shooter just a little bit, less than an inch, just some centimeters like this, Trump would have been a dead man by now. And Joe Biden, from what he made in the statement, if you could go back and listen, it's just that he's just making it clear that nobody would want to assassinate Trump. It is strange anyway. Let's listen to this analysis of the people, ABC News. Let's hear them out.
We see center stage there in Milwaukee this week. It'll be so interesting to see if it changes the relationship between these two men. We know that in the immediate aftermath, it has really put a pause on campaigning from Democrats. The Biden campaign halted all ads, tried to get ads pulled out from TV. They haven't been, they've really gone dark today that said this isn't a moment for campaigning. We are told that that's not going to last long, that we are in the middle of an election cycle. You heard the president there say that he expects that in Milwaukee, Republicans will talk about all the ways they disagree with his record, and that he's planning to go back out on the campaign trail to talk about how he disagrees with their vision. We know that the president and the Biden campaign are still planning to make this point that they believe Trump is still a threat to democracy. They are still going to talk about how he attempted to overturn the results of the 2020 election. They are still likely going to talk about how he has been close and trying to, and said, promising, I should say, to pardon those January 6th rioters. These are still central themes in the Biden campaign. They believe this is important for voters to be thinking about in November. But we heard the president there say that they need to keep the focus on people taking out their frustrations at the ballot box and finding a way to move past all of any political violence. Lindsay.
And tomorrow, the president's schedule does include another Situation Room briefing. Can we expect that will be routine as the investigation into the shooting continues over the next days and weeks?
I imagine, and at the highest levels, of course, those that have been briefing the president include the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of Secret Service. You've seen the Vice President there in the Situation Room alongside the president. Clearly, they have to be on top of every bit of this investigation. And interesting, they have already promised an independent investigation as well, and to make the results of that investigation public. There's going to be such a call for transparency for the whole country to be able to understand what went wrong, what exactly happened yesterday. They need to find a way to restore faith in law enforcement, in the federal government in this moment when Americans are clearly and rightfully shaken. Lindsay.
Mary Alice Parks for us. Thank you so much, Mary. Unity was, of course, the central key part of the president's remarks this evening. And you had one key message to the American people. Let's take a listen.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together.
I want to bring back in ABC's Jay O'Brien, who's there on the scene in Milwaukee for us. Jay, any sense so far of what those at the convention think of the president's message?
We haven't seen much reaction yet, Lindsay, only because this is very much still getting underway. They're very much still in the planning phase of this convention, or rather the preparation phase. We're seeing mic checks still happen. People are kind of mingling about the floor, but it's mainly media like myself and technicians, et cetera. But I can tell you that the overall message of unity that the president was expressing is one that I have heard from senior Republicans express as well. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, for instance, comes to note. He has said in recent days, really in the immediate aftermath of that attack on that Trump rally outwards, of this need to lower the political temperature, to not normalize political violence. And that was very much the theme of these remarks from President Biden as well, as we've been discussing over the course of the night. He called on Americans to see people who perhaps disagree with them politically as, we're neighbors, we're friends. At the beginning of his remarks, you played that sound there. He called to take the temperature down. He called on everyone who is so politically engaged in this election, all Americans watching every moment of this election so closely. He called on all of us, as he put it, to, quote, take a step back. And I have heard Republicans ahead of this convention here in Milwaukee echo that too. The immediate test of exactly what that looks like, though, taking a step back, will be had here in Milwaukee really 24 hours from right now when this convention gets underway. And that is because, as the president noted in his remarks, conventions are a political exercise. He said he expects people to take this stage behind me and criticize his record. But he noted that here in this country, you can disagree with someone politically without that turning into violence, without that turning into hate. And that's what the president called on. That's what I've heard senior Republicans call on as well. And the question becomes, when the various prominent notables of the Republican Party take that stage, what message do they express to the American people?
And we've talked a considerable amount about how this convention might be altered as a result of the shooting that took place yesterday. Is there any sense if the campaigns going forward are going to take on a different tone?
Well, what we're hearing is this theme. It's an unwritten theme. You know, there are various themes of this convention. The overall theme is Make America Great Again. And as you and I were discussing, each night has its own theme, like Monday is Make America Wealthy Again, Tuesdays Make America Safe Again, etc. But there is this other theme that's starting to take shape in my conversations with Republicans, in my conversations with delegates here, and that is this theme of defiance. It's almost the embodiment of that image of former President Trump as he put his fist in the air just moments after he was shot. I've heard from Republicans who say they have rallied to that image. They have been emboldened by that image, and they want to bring that tenor, that thought process to this convention as they also try to make their case to the American people for a second term of Donald Trump. So Republicans are really capturing or trying to capture that message of defiance in the wake of tragedy. The question becomes exactly what does that look like? And those conversations are still very preliminary from the Republican sources that I've talked to. No one exactly knows what exact shape that will take, but this convention is going to change significantly.
All right, Jay O'Brien, our thanks to you as always. The investigation into the suspect and his motives is ongoing. I want to bring in former Secret Service agent Don Mihalik. Don, thank you so much for joining us. You were involved with the most of the presidential campaigns from 2000 to 2016. What's your reaction to the shooting from yesterday?
Presidential campaigns and campaign stops are always frenetic. You never like to see incidents happen. This is a tragic incident. It's tragic that it occurred. It's going to take some time for the Secret Service, the FBI, and its local partners to figure out what happened, where the security gaps were. Overall, though, the agents involved in the detail, the counter snipers' response seemed appropriate, seemed right in line with their training. Questions, of course, are going to come out with the security planning, the security plan, and to figure out exactly what went wrong, how the individual got to where he got, and how he was able to set up and take the shots he set up. Granted, some of that questions are also going to involve the local and state stakeholders that supported the mission, the local and state police, because they have a piece of the security puzzle as well. Ultimately, the Secret Service is responsible for the plan, but to do that kind of a plan, they have to work hand in hand with their local and state law enforcement partners to make sure they can affect it.
So since you've been a part of these kinds of plans in the past, I'm just curious how unusual it would seem to you that there would be potentially a rooftop that somehow was not secured.
Well, we don't know if it's not secured because we really don't know what the security mitigation strategies are. Again, the Secret Service doesn't eliminate risk, they mitigate risk, and they use different risk mitigation strategies to do that, which could involve police posts, agent posts, observation posts, ground teams. We really don't know what that looks like because we don't have those answers yet. I am positive that during the advanced process, that building and all the adjacent buildings were surveyed. The counter sniper teams typically do a long distance survey of potential threats out to 1,000 yards where they identify these threats. They put together grid plans to identify specific threats in a grid pattern. So if there is a threat, they can call it out by the grid and vector teams into it. And again, remember that Secret Service agents, although they do the national security mission of protection, they're also law enforcement officers. So they're forced to operate in the world of law enforcement when it comes to reacting to a potential threat. And it doesn't take a lot of time for somebody to climb onto a roof, drop down, unzip a bag, and pull out a rifle. So all that will have to be investigated. All that will have to be looked at, and we'll have to figure out what those answers are. And I'm confident the Secret Service will put in mitigation strategies so that never happens again.
And just in the last few seconds that we have here, you were part of the advance team for the DNC in 2016. As we get ready now on the eve of the RNC convention, what do you think the agents are looking at right now as they look to the security and make sure that everyone is safe?
Well, the RNC is a national special security event, as is the DNC this year. A national special security event is the highest level security event that the Department of Homeland Security gives to any type of an event that's going on. For the Secret Service, that's a planning process that starts almost 2 years out, where they're working with stakeholders across the board, both with the individual convention people to the local host cities, to the law enforcement partners to put together those security plans. And those security plans are constantly in development. They're constantly being adjusted.
Don, we thank you so much for your time and insight. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. I must tell you the truth. Well, we'll move. The glorious thing, the most important thing is that Trump was not gotten down, because the truth is that irrespective of what anybody say or what anybody might want to say or what anybody have to say, the truth remains that the person that targeted just missed the target. Not that they didn't want to shoot or they didn't want to get Trump down. The true plan was to get him down.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you
That's the
want to
video.
really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
You got it? The real plan was to get Trump down and get him dead. So if anybody is telling you it's a makeup, it's a frame up, it's a stage managed, who would want to stage manage bullet with his life? Stage manage, not here, not here. Stage, that's the stage manage, is not here, is not here, is not leg, hand, not here, here. This is where the bullet just flashed away from here, and it wasn't once. The shooter, after the first attempt, found that he missed, and he still fired the second, third bullet. So, and the two people died in this event. I guess that two people were the people that were caught with by the two last bullets. And people are telling you it's a makeup. It's a makeup. Well, I don't know if it's a makeup, but I know the truth, and the truth is that they wanted Trump dead. I am going to be making a video to post. Maybe this video is about I'm going to get some clips from Joseph Okechukwu as analyzation, and then we'll see what happened. Why they wanted Trump assassinated, who wanted him assassinated in that follow-up video. I believe after this video, that should be the next video I will be loading up. So I will say thank you so much for being part of this program, and bye.
Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head. It's bloody. So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay, my shoes down. Watch out.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great.